Welcome back, fellow road trippers. We're in Tonopah, Nevada, heading to the Central Nevada Museum. It's just 212 miles from Las Vegas, 230 miles from Reno, Nevada, and 116 miles from Bishop, California. Hi, I'm Greg Nutt, and welcome to the American Landscape. We're here to see Alan Metcher. He is the president of the Tonopah Historic Society and the director of the Central Nevada Museum.
Welcome to the Central Nevada Museum.
Well, Alan, I'm Greg. I was just signing in your book, make sure I got in there.
Oh, hi.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Same here. By gosh.
So are you the director of the museum? What's your
Yes,
position?
president of the Historical Society and director of the museum.
How long's the museum been here? What's the stated purpose of this particular museum?
Well, my two brothers and I were interested in history all our lives. And in 1978, we formed a historical society. And our first project to show that we would do things as a historical society, we began restoration on the old Tonopah Cemetery that was in use from 1900 to 1911.
Is that the one next to the Clown Museum?
Yes,
or
it
Clown
is.
Motel? Sorry,
Clown, Clown Motel.
Okay.
And we got grant money and fenced it and all. And then we went from there. And by 1982, we'd obtained a grant from the Max Fleischmann Foundation of Fleischmann East. And that money, which was turned over to the county, actually paid for the building here.
Wow, that's great.
My brothers and I's collections, I think at the very beginning, because we collected since we were kids, made up most of the displays.
Really?
But it evolved over the years that many people donated stuff, and then when someone passed away, the families would donate the albums of pictures and just all types of stuff, which we'll be taking a look at today.
Well, that's great. So you really had a passion for history and things of the past and not wanting to lose them to time then, huh?
Oh, yes, and that's our main objective. Now, I've been here working as a volunteer for a little over 40 years and still working at it as a volunteer.
And still have the same passion for the history and
oh,
all
yeah,
that?
yes.
Now, I think I heard about two brothers. We were at the Tonopah mine earlier, and Jeff mentioned these two brothers that used to scamper around up there and have fun and maybe collect it. Did you used to hang around up there?
I think I knew them. Yeah, my two brothers. That was kind of a playground for us back in the early 60s, 50s. I think most of the kids in a town, that was a playground for them. And luckily, a lot of us kids going up climbed down those old stopes and holes, mine holes and stuff, and nobody fell through the cracks. But it's lucky.
Who needs a park when you got an empty mine to play in, right?
Oh yes, you bet. More exciting when your dad tells you to keep away from there. Fossils here now, and the duplicates of the fossils that were found nearby, like most areas in Central Nevada, because you're looking at a lot of these valleys were lakes back thousands of years ago.
So do you say some of them were duplicates? They're like castings? Or?
Oh yes, there are very few there that impossible to get the original, but we just wanted to give a semblance of...
Sure. So you call it the Central Nevada Museum, so you're not dedicated just to Tonopah, but all of Central Nevada. So what would you say your scope of area that the museum covers?
Okay, glad you asked that question. As far as Austin, Nevada, which is a little over 100 miles north of here, and Hawthorne, Nevada is county seat of Mineral County. The ammunition depot's up there, 100 and some miles away. And going south, down to Beatty, Nevada, Rhyolite, Goldfield, which is 26 miles from here, and it was the richest gold camp in the world at one time.
Really? Wow.
A lot of gold came out of there. It's amazing. Silver here with a little bit of gold, then 26 miles down the road, gold with a little bit of silver.
Now, who were the, I'm not sure, I not native, but maybe the first settlers, First Nations people, who was here first? And that's because this kind of looks like a representation, maybe.
Yeah, the earliest settlers here, well, no doubt before that, unknowns, but the Paiute and the Shoshone Indians were the Native Americans in this area. And of course, this is remnants of their grinding stones or petroglyphs, that type of thing.
Now, are these authentic?
Oh yeah, those are 100% authentic.
So they are a rock communication petroglyph type of society. They left their markings.
Oh yeah, and south of here, there's several places where there is huge amounts of petroglyphs
Really?
still. Yes,
That would be really cool to see.
And also, a lot of areas where there's chippings, where they made their arrowheads too.
Oh, which
here
I
in
see
Central Nevada.
next here. So you've got a good collection of arrowheads.
Oh, a great one. And some of these came out of estates and whatnot that were collected in this area years and years ago. And as you can see, it was real craftsmanship. The different sizes and all for the different animals they were hunting. And it's just unbelievable what they were able to do by hand.
Yeah, I see some really small, delicate ones there.
Speaking of the Native Americans, out here of Tonopah East, 50 miles in Reveille Valley, 4 generations of one family was raised there. And Curtis Pete, he's deceased several years ago, at 80-some years of age, he drew these pictures. And really, I'll put it like this. Some people are natural mechanics, others now computer technicians and all. He was a natural artist. There's the artist.
Oh, okay. That of these back here. Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah, this is a display. This is pretty much...
Is this all family heirlooms, their weapons?
Yes, and just stuff that he donated finally. And
nice.
He left to the museum when he passed on.
Whiskey still, no,
gotta
have your whiskey, right?
During Prohibition, I think every other old cabin or tunnel or anything had a whiskey still in it.
Oh, look at these photos. Nobody takes photos like this anymore.
Oh, they don't.
Panoramics, look at that.
This was one of the first panoramics made. And I have a little history here. This was the largest photograph in the world, and it was taken here in Tonopah by a camera mostly manufactured right here in Tonopah.
Oh, that's
and this
fascinating.
is an original picture, too.
That is the original.
Uh-huh.
That's amazing.
And, you can see the mining area, the mining park up in this area. One of these pictures, let's see, you can see the smoke from the train coming up into town.
So where would we be in the museum? Are we in this shot?
We are right there.
Right there. Oh.
Right there. You can see how the town has grown a little bit because that's all built up now. But we're right there.
It's in the Mitzpah. Is that in this
picture?
Yeah.
Here. Okay, here's the Mitzpah, the Belvada across Main Street.
I don't see the Best Western we stayed in.
Might
be a little before that. Right? Oh, there's the smoke of the train on that one.
That's the one with the train puffing into town.
That's
the
great.
old Tonopah and Goldfield Railroad ran from Mina, Nevada, north of here 100 and some miles to Goldfield, 26 miles from here, and it had a spur line up here to Tonopah that served all the mines and milling in the town.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, no, one that people can't believe when they drive on Highway 95 between Vegas and Reno is the one of Goldfield here. It was a city of well over 20,000 people, and a big fire in 1923 because of whiskey still blowing up or being sabotaged by competition burnt down the majority of the city then.
Yeah, that's amazing. That looks like a huge metropolitan city, of the time, right?
It was. Yeah. That's where my grandpa, a German immigrant, settled at one of Goldfield suburbs in 1904.
Really? Now, would that have been around the time Wyatt and his brother, Wyatt Earp, was there? Or is that?
This, about that time,
about
yes.
That time.
And let's see, the Northern Saloon, where Virgil Earp actually worked, he was a deputy in there, that's where he worked, was right
there,
in this area.
That is so cool. Now, is there any history of the Earps coming up to Tonopah doing anything?
Oh, yes. Wyatt had a little saloon downtown here.
No kidding.
Another, we give a few details on the mining activities here, and the small mini set, including a candlestick holder, was given as a wedding gift to somebody here in town years and years ago. But I always loved those miniature things.
Yeah, that's very cool, and they're very accurate, very detailed.
And also we had cowboys here too. These are ranchers, cowboys, a display depicting them, especially Jim Daniels. This was a donation to us, a cowboy display, but he was quite a well-known cowboy here, and feuding all the time with somebody else. And in fact, they fenced Goldfield, Nevada, and he actually did it with his some of his cowboys. And why that was, back in the 50s, his cows were getting in there and people eating people's gardens, and he didn't want to have people coming out shooting his cows when they were eating his gardens.
Interesting.
But he's got quite a history too, from an early 1800 family. And
so what's that sword?
oh, this is the lodge. This
Just like a Mason lodge?
Mason type of lodge.
Okay, Knights of the Plithing. Is that a Plithing? Ceremonial sword. Interesting. Oh, then VFW.
This we were able to obtain this from Gold Point, Nevada. That's about 45, 50 miles southwest from here. And they closed that post office years and years ago, and luckily this wasn't destroyed. We were able to obtain it. But
That's a pretty piece of history there. That's nice.
yeah, I think there's about 5 people live up at Gold Point now. But in fact, the bench here, it was out of the old telephone office in Gold Point, or I should say Goldfield.
Goldfield.
And if it could tell all the phone calls that were made in and out of there, which we do have the switchboard over there from that old telephone office, what stories it could tell.
That's the back of the switchboard you were talking about,
That's
right?
the back of the switchboard, and I often wonder, the repairman, what he did when the operator said, oh, there's something wrong, I can't get through on one of the of the circuits.
Look at those wires, and oh, yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, now they'll have little things they can clip in there to find out if there's stuff moving through and all that.
Well, that would come in a box that big or smaller.
Sure. This cashier's cage looks pretty cool. That's nice.
Yes, we had to, it went from a dance hall, Jake's Dance Hall, in the red light district in Goldfield
Like this,
to Las Vegas after the boom days of Goldfield. And a fellow had it in pieces in his garage in Vegas for years and years, wanted to get it back to Central Nevada. And by gosh, he donated it to us here in the Central Nevada Museum.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, now you're getting some things that really, really interest me, the military stuff.
Yes,
Because there's military history out here in Tonopah, right?
Oh my gosh, a lot of military history. And here's a few books that I co-authored,
Nellis Air
technical
Force
advisor
Base?
on that. And I was co-author on this too, all the accidents. And thanks to the Freedom of Information Act, I obtained all my information from the accident reports.
Oh, wow.
And mouth-to-mouth research too from many of the people that used to train or
Oh, that's cool. There's nothing better than getting a story straight from the source, right?
Uh-huh.
Now, I'm sorry, I know there's some older history here, but I saw this F-117A stealth fighter. That is cool.
Oh, that was in one of the offices down here on the Tonopah test site.
I mean, I remember these all over our base. You know, this is very typical military. I mean, it would have something like SAC. I was at a SAC base. So yeah, it would be a little different, but very typically of the time, yeah, that's very neat.
Oh yes, the stealth, and here's a few photos of it, and down at the Tonopah test site.
Oh wow, that is really
being
awesome.
tested. And here in the middle, recently a memorial was built for the aviators that died here in training accidents, flying into and out of the Tonopah Army Air Corps Base. We've included bricks of 120 young men that died in training accidents that were actually stationed at the base for training. And our Historical Society was able to donate a Pratt & Whitney twin wasp 14-cylinder engine to use in the monument. The B-24 bombers they were training in were old war worries. They didn't have them training in new aircraft, but when they shipped them out of here down to San Francisco and different places, they flew on over to Europe or the Pacific in brand new ones.
You said B-24, right?
Yeah, that was
the picture right behind you. I'm looking at one, right?
That's when they. That was a Tonopah training flight over Lake Tahoe, and this one was forming up over the Tonopah base for a training mission.
Nice.
And these was on the NCO club wall down at the base.
That's awesome.
And one of the old veterans that was there, assigned to being at the base after the war ended, wound up with them and donated them to us.
That's very cool. Now, I thought I saw out of the corner of my eye a very famous aviator, and I think you mentioned Chuck Yeager's spent time out here. Is that right?
Oh, yes. Right here, this exhibit, there's Chuck and Glamorous Glennis that he broke the sound barrier in. And Chuck and his wife, Victoria, they drop by here quite often. And got a picture of him there. This is Chuck's shipping orders to Tonopah when he was shipped here for his gunnery training.
Oh, that's a little piece of history there now, isn't it?
And I have to, since we're looking at this is a B-24 with Mispaw on it. And this picture was taken over in Europe. And the B-24 Mispaw flew over 100 combat missions with different flight crews. And one would fly the quota and then another flight crew. One of them, who was the pilot of the plane, he donated this to me, he sent it to me, and he told me the story. He had Mispaw painted on that. And when he was, he did train here at Tonopah, and I asked him, I said, was that religious significance that you had that on there? And he says, no. He said, I had so much fun at the Mispaw Hotel while the time I was training here is why I had Mispaw painted on that.
Wow. Wonder what mischief he got up to then.
Yeah, a little bit. He told me some pretty good stories, like all of them did.
So you mentioned the aircraft accidents and stuff, and then right behind you there's some, looks like scraps and pieces and pictures of a downed aircraft. Is that all part of the accidents out here?
Oh, yes. I've got the P-39s in there. Dog tags. Over the last 30 years, I've found family members and all for 8 to 12 of the dog tags, and these were found at the base, at the crash sites, and could find no family members that wanted them. So here they just give an indication of the sacrifices made down here during World War II.
Well, thank you for preserving those. Those are great. That's really good.
Right here, this display is related to the glide bomb tests, the secret glide bomb tests here at the Tonopah base and outlying areas during 1944. And included in those tests were the radio television controlled glide bomb, the heat seeking glide bomb, the radio guided glide bomb, but these are all remnants from those tests, including a radio control box covered with wood. And why that tongue and groove wood was around that box, I finally found out. Lauren Hammond of Hammond Organ Works came here and was devising a new sighting device for the drop of these glide bombs over enemy territory. And Hammond, in order to keep his cabinet workers that made cabinets and for pianos and organs, to keep them on the payroll, he stipulated in his contract that they enclose those radio receiver boxes in tongue and grooved wood, and that kept his cabinet workers on the job during the during the war.
When I saw that big organ, you mentioned Hammond, my mind went to that organ we passed. Is that a Hammond organ over there?
No, it isn't, unfortunately. That came from the Presbyterian Church. And when they graduated to an electric organ, they donated that to us here. And it was all we could do to get it out of the church
and into
up
here,
to
right?
here. And also, what the stipulation was for us receiving that organ is we had to take the big blower that was underneath the church in not a basement, but in a dirt cellar.
Wow.
And we had to get that thing out of there. And I think that thing weighed 450 pounds. But we got it out and disposed of it. But that actually supplied the air for the...
Oh, okay. So that doesn't play anymore because it doesn't have an air supply, right?
Yes, and next to it we have a small organ, and that came out of the Presbyterian Church in Goldfield, Nevada, during the big 1923 fire, and it was saved. That was the only thing they got out of there, and they got it out just in time.
So, do you have a gift shop here too?
Oh, we do, yes.
Yeah. And while we're walking over to the gift shop, I noticed when we came in, there's a lot of old buildings outside and stuff. So, is that okay? Wait, I got to stop you here. This is a casket?
This is a wicker basket used for pickup, a call basket, and non-fatals like coronaries and that type. And you can tell by the configuration and the size of it, the stature of the human body was a lot different then.
Sure.
And the funeral director that came in here, he used these up into the 1960s until he passed away.
No way.
But these date way back to the, I'd say the early 1900s.
So if grandma or grandpa, they died in their home, somebody would come pick them up in something like this.
My grandmother was hauled across the street where she lived in the wicker basket.
Oh, okay. So anyways, back to, so we're going to the gift shop, but outside there's a bunch of old buildings. I know some, potentially bombs or air tanks or, fuel tanks sitting around. So outdoor, when you come here, not only do you have all this wonderful stuff inside, there's an outside stuff too, right?
Oh, yes. We've accumulated quite a bit, and heavy duty stuff too. And mining companies, mine claim owners and all wanted to get rid of the stuff and did donate it.
So
to
the
us.
wagons and stuff we see, like one looked like a jail wagon right where we parked.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So somebody donated that and it comes here.
That goes back to the early days of Tonopah, the actual wagon that's mounted in. But on the 50th anniversary of Tonopah in 1950, Jack Dempsey, the prize fighter, was the what's the title for that?
The marshal?
The Grand Marshal. And he served time in that little jail. They would have it down on Main Street, and he didn't have the holiday pin, 50th anniversary pin they had to have, so they had him locked up in there for a while too. And I'm always tempted to put a plaque on the wagon. Jack Dempsey served time in here.
That's very funny. So this is the gift shop then here?
This is the gift shop, and a good selection of Central Nevada history books and the vicinity.
Right. Yeah, a little bit of everything here. So how long do you think an average person, would need to set aside? They've reached Tonopah, maybe they're passing through, they want to stop, get some history. And how long do you think it would take to see the museum?
I would say between the museum and the outside displays, no less than 2 hours.
Okay. There's a lot of great stuff here. What's your favorite thing here? There's got to be something that Alan says, I really like this.
The World War II research of the old Army Air Corps bases is my favorite. And thanks to the Bureau of Land Management, before the Antiquity Act went into effect, we had an agreement with them that we could go out down and unearth those World War II crash sites for historical purposes here at the museum. Oh. And that's where we got a lot of the actual hardware and the aircraft parts. Yeah, let's step back to the library.
Okay.
Yes, there's been some research work here just recently, so we got some stuff kind of a mess on the tables, but we have the hard copy newspapers out here going back to the 1860s, and in our vault there
Wow,
also.
the 1860s. Now, those are copies, or they're...
Yeah, these are related. No, we have the originals.
The originals.
Originals, yeah.
Wow.
But now we recently and are still at getting them digitized and searchable, so researchers can just look at the computer.
So if we go to your website, we can find some of the stuff digitized.
Well, we haven't quite got on the website yet,
Okay.
but we will.
That's the goal
The
to do.
photographs, yeah, that's the goal.
Nice.
And just take it one step at a time. Here we have a lot of files, photographs. Let me show you an example.
Okay. And if someone passing through, wanted to research, it's open to anybody to come research here?
Oh, yeah, yes. And now that we're getting all these photographs, here's an example. Tonopah alone. Views of Tonopah, Tonopah Cemetery, 1920s, 1930s, Tonopah buildings, 1900s to 1909.
So these are original. So like this photo sticking out here from the 1950s. I feel like I used to have a darkroom. That's that paper. The feel.
And the really hard back, a lot of them we got were a hard cardboard back too, and we have those in the vault.
And is there any genealogy that they've kept
Yes,
here?
it's got the obituaries. It's got just information on a lot of family. A lot of families come in and utilize this too.
Sure.
A massive library here, and all card catalog, but history of all types related to.
It's all got a Tonopah connection, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's utilized by a lot of mining companies. Air Force, Nellis Air Force Base has utilized our library many times.
Really? Nice. Now you got a color photo of the town too up there.
Oh yeah, some fellow passing through that was in the business of doing that. He said he really liked the museum. And I'd say this was 12, 15 years ago. And he said, I'll send you a panoramic of the town as it is today.
Nice.
But it's changed even since then.
Well, Alan, I really appreciate the time you've spent with us. So thank you. And we're going to look around more a little outside and take a look at some of what you have here in the gift shop.
Well, yes, and why I've been here so long is it's a labor of love, really.
It shows.
The history.
It shows.